Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's 3:58 a.m., Friday the 20th of March 2020, where I am. And this is my third episode in my podcast. And today, I really did not want to discuss the coronavirus because that's what everybody's talking about, and it can get tedious, and people are getting panicky, and generally it doesn't really, talking about it over and over and over doesn't really help. However, there are things which, everything is so fluid. Things are happening minute to minute, so I guess we can't avoid it, can we? I don't know. I feel like my anxiety is doing a really strange thing where when I read an article, let's for example say I read an article about the symptoms of coronavirus, that's headache and sore throat and fever and runny nose, right? Those are the main symptoms. So I find myself and then when it gets severe, you can't breathe. And not being able to breathe is like my number 3 greatest fear of all time, right? Because damn. So every time I read your lungs get flooded and you can't breathe, I literally feel like I can't breathe. So that's why I don't like to put myself in that situation. So I'm trying to keep away from the articles which give symptoms. Now that I know what they are, I don't need to continuously read about them. You might or might not know that coronavirus just arrived in Kenya last week, and the patient 0 in Kenya lives around my neighborhood, right? And she was walking around for 5 days before she was diagnosed. And just 3 days before she was diagnosed, I was in the supermarket, and there was this woman, and she was coughing, and she was really coughing. It wasn't a normal cough. The thing was that she wasn't covering her mouth. She was just coughing. She was coughing on the food, on the aisles, everywhere. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? So I hesitated between telling her to cover her fucking mouth and leaving the store, even if coronavirus wasn't here yet. I wasn't about to wait around and see. So I left the store. But I can't just help thinking about that woman and whether she ever got tested, because that cough was bad and she was just coughing on everything. Well, now the supermarket has at the door, you have to sanitize your hands before you get hold of a shopping basket, which I don't know. I guess it helps. Every little helps, I guess. But it's, I think, more psychological. People feel a little bit safer. And one thing that I've come to realize with this pandemic is that nobody trusts their government. Nobody in the world. Everyone's leader is the struggle. And everyone thinks that their government is lying. Except the Italians. The Italians don't seem to think their government is lying. But I don't think the situation can get any worse. Okay, it can get worse. There is no situation that is so bad that it can't get worse. I think it was either Bach who said that or some white old guy. Anyway, who lived in the Renaissance. But generally, their situation is so bad that they don't think it can get any worse. So I guess they believe their government. The rest of us are like, they're hiding something, And I guess probably they are. But the thing is, I don't really look to the government for leadership. But I'm really proud of how the ordinary person is handling the situation. Tomorrow I'm going to join an online workshop for training for trainers to do with learning all about the coronavirus and what medical practitioners can do to help. I'm also thinking of volunteering. There's a Google form going around Twitter which is asking any type of medical volunteer to, volunteer. And the truth is that if you can help, you should, right? You should. And I don't want to put myself in the situation where I might be exposed, but I should. So I'm gonna put myself on that list. Hopefully they don't call me, but I'll put myself on the list. So that's that on that. I also wanted to tell you about chloroquine. Chloroquine is being used to treat the virus, right? Chloroquine and azithromycin, which is interesting to me because I was trying to think, how does it help, right? Because chloroquine is a very, 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 very old malaria drug, right? And apparently right now it's also used to treat lupus. So according to how my knowledge of the malaria virus works, right? It enters the cell, the blood cells. It enters healthy blood cells and incorporates itself in it, and then grows until it bursts that blood cell, right? Bursts it, and then it moves on to the next one. And so people who die of malaria, they kind of die because their blood cells have been destroyed. This is not scientifically, I'm not giving a scientific explanation. I'm giving a more like that's what happens. It enters the blood cell bursts, right? So then after that, right, I don't know at which point chloroquine enters the chat. I need to read up on that, right? So chloroquine enters the chat at some point, and I suppose it fights the it's not a parasite and it's not a bacteria. The malaria pathogen is a different type of pathogen whose name I've forgotten the name. It's a long time since I was in school for pharmacy. So I can't remember the name, and I guess it's not. I could check right now, right? So at some point, what's the malaria pathogen called? But it's interesting to me that chloroquine is also used for, it's called a parasite. Yeah, it's a parasite. So, well, what's interesting to me is that lupus is an autoimmune disease, which means that autoimmune means that the cells, your own cells, your body turns against itself and starts attacking healthy cells, right? So I'm thinking that chloroquine works somewhere, either as a protective agent. I think it must act as a protective agent, protecting healthy cells from attack. And that would work equally in the case of malaria or lupus, right? If you're protecting healthy cells from attack rather than fighting the thing which is attacking the cells, then I suppose that is why chloroquine would be effective against parasites, against the cells, the mutation of cells that causes autoimmune diseases, and also viruses, right? I need to read up on chloroquine. Anyway, so yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was really an interesting concept. And Trump did say that they were using chloroquine, but apparently the FDA has not approved it for usage with the coronavirus. The rest of us, though, are not waiting for FDA approval. I saw that the Ministry of Health had put guidelines out for us medical professionals that chloroquine and azithromycin are the drugs of choice. So, and according to a very, very, very small study of 30 people, it's very effective, which is great. The thing is that we're talking about a virus which affects different people different ways, right? In China, apparently the Chinese got it from bats, right? They have this open air markets where they just kill animals all shagala bagala, and just like animals are stored in tiny cages, wild animals, domesticated animals, and they're just killed at the same spot. And I suppose it's all very unsanitary, and all the blood and body fluids from the animals killed at the top will drain down to the animals at the bottom, and we have cross-pollination, I suppose you would call it. Although I'm not sure that's how infection works across species. It sounds a little, am I sure? Or is it racism? I also need to read about that. Anyway, they seem pretty sure that that it's the bats that were the source, right? But I was thinking to myself, like, the way China is right now, China is like the most polluted cities in the world, right? And that means that their respiratory systems are probably a little bit more vulnerable, right? And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the veritable pollution that they live with, which has in the 6 weeks that they were under quarantine, the sky cleared, right? And there was much less pollution. And also, the virus is now under control. And I'm wondering if there's some sort of correlation between cleaner air and a drop in infections, right? And this would also correlate with the fact that Africa is not under the same amount of suffering when it comes to coronavirus. We don't really have community cases except in South Africa, which is, I suppose, one of the most industrialized and therefore one of the most probably polluted places in Africa. Those of us like here, we have our factories which were run down because they were mostly parastatals, so they were run down and closed, and we don't really have factories which are pouring a lot of pollution in the air, right? So I'm just talking about Kenya here, for example. I'm just talking Kenya here. So does that do we have relatively cleaner air? And is that relatively cleaner air giving us a better chance to fight off this virus? It's just a question. I'm asking a lot of questions of myself because as of right now, we don't know of any Africans who have died of the virus, right? People are sick. We have 456 people in the entire motherfucking continent with coronavirus, and the people who have died, the 3 people who have died, are not Africans. So is it the air? Is it respiration? Is the air cleaner? What other factors? Every disease has factors which affects its spread and susceptibility, right? So I need somebody to be asking these questions. I'm not seeing anyone asking these questions, and I don't understand why no one's asking. So I've ended up talking about this thing for 20 minutes, and I didn't mean to do that. I wish there was a way that you could ask me questions. Maybe you could leave comments, and I will get back to you if I have answers. Right? So meanwhile, you need to stay safe. Wash your hands. And just put yourself in the best mindset to, if you get sick, put yourself in the best mindset to get better, which means it truly is mind over matter, and mind over matter involves, I am not going to let my body break down. I'm going to eat well, I'm going to sleep well, I'm going to reduce stressors, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, and I'm not going to do anything which is going to cause me to be vulnerable to this disease. And if I get it, when I get it, hopefully it's a mild case, go through it. You don't have to be on oxygen, and you just get well. That's what I pray for everyone. I pray for everyone that you might get it. It's probably there's a good chance, right? There's a good chance that if it's in your country, you might get it. But just we pray that every case is mild. But I think we'll get mild cases if we can answer the questions that I have posed. If you're immunocompromised, stay away from everyone, especially people who are being very cavalier with their health and going like, no, freedom, I have to go out, I have to continue with my life. And we get it. I mean, like in Kenya, you can't really expect the market to close. How's the market going to close when people are living hand to mouth? They wake up in the morning, they go to the market, whatever they earn that day is what they have to feed their families. So you can't expect them to stop, right? So, and to expect them to stop, it's impractical. And then you're not even giving an end date. You're not saying stop for a week or stop for 2 weeks. You're just saying stop indefinitely. It can't work. It won't work. So I hope a solution is found to that problem. I'm going to stop here because it's 21 minutes already. And that's not what we're doing here. So I'm going to say good night. I'm going to go have a nice good night's sleep. And tomorrow is another day.